Aloha, today we are going to talk about Delta Airlines. Let's get to know Delta Airlines a little bit. Delta Airlines is a major airline of the United States, one of the oldest airline in the United States. And in Delta Airlines operate over 5,400 flights daily. There are the most important resources Delta Airlines needs. First, I list three, but there are more. First, human resources. Delta Airlines needs skilled pilots, which they need to be trained, flight attendants to serve people in the airplane, mechanics, ground staff, and crucial Delta's operations and service delivery. The second one is fuel. Fuel is one of the most important things that Delta Airlines needs. If they don't have fuel, they cannot run the business. For the fuel is the supply, reasonable prices is crucial for Delta operations. Fuel scarcities or price fluctuations can significantly impact the airline's profitability and operational efficiency. For example, if the price of the fuel goes up, the price of the ticket must go up as well to make it make sense, to make they can still make a profit for that. And the third one is infrastructure. So this one is for the airlines. Delta needs some place to stop by, to land to. We call it airport, terminals or runways. If we don't have that, if Delta don't have those things, they will have a problem because airport is really important, and sufficient and well-maintained infrastructure is crucial, and timely departures and arrival, smooth operation, and customer satisfaction. For example, if they don't have good airports, it could be customer can be angry for that, or it makes a lot more difficult for them to serve customers. Now we are going to talk about scarcity, how it can affect the future of the company. Scarcity is something that you cannot find for the company, but if they don't if they're not able to find it, they cannot run a business at all. For example, if they don't have skilled human to work for them, because skilled people, for example pilot, they have to be trained for many years to be able to fly an airplane. This can lead to an increased cost and operational constraint, affecting Delta's ability to provide reliable services and make strategic decisions. And the second one is fuel. If the world don't have fuel, it can affect the airline a lot. For example, there would not be any airlines in the world if we don't have fuel. That's why it is important that scarcity of the fuel, it's like the inflation of the price or the increase of operating expenses can affect the running of the airline. The third one is if the scarcity happen for infrastructure, such as airport capacity or gate availability, can lead to delays, reduced customer satisfaction, and also missed business opportunities for Delta. For example, in the last few years, Delta faced with COVID-19 problem, and it makes them run a business really slow, and also that makes them lose so many customers and also a lot of their profits as well.
I will be sharing about the impact of demand on Delta Airlines operation. So as you all know, and we've learned in class, that supply and demand are the two essential functions of any organization. It helps the business or the organizations to see the profits or the losses they are making, and what are the things or the steps they need to take in order to keep making profit for the business, because that's one of the main reasons why we create a business, to make money, to make profit. But I will be specifically sharing on the impact of demand on Delta Airlines operations. So the demand for air travel has a significant impact on the operations of the Delta Airlines. And so listed up here are some few demand effects that has an effect on Delta operations. So the first one is flight scheduling. So Delta Airlines adjusts their flight based on the passenger demand. So basically, if there is an increased demand for a specific destination or route, the Delta Airlines they have more or larger aircraft allocated to that destination. So basically, the higher the demand, the higher the destination or the route they use for that specific destination. And so the second one is fleet utilization. This is when demand influences how the Delta Airlines manages its fleet of aircraft. So it means that if there's a higher demand of the airlines that maximize the utilizations of the aircraft, there is reducing downtime between flights. So basically, if the higher the demand of airlines and its fleet, the airlines will reduce downtime between flights, so that passengers will have more of space and rest. And then on the third one, it's revenue management. Delta Airlines, they employ revenue management to optimize price ticketing based on the demand. And so if the demand is high, the airline can charge higher fees, because that's how they can make more profit. Yeah? So for example, this summer, I'm pretty sure, because it's summer, everyone loves traveling, so I guess they will have a rise because of the demand. As we learned in class, as demand increases, price increases as well. And so the fourth one is resource allocation. So the level of demand also impacts Delta Airlines allocation of various resources, such as gate availability and ground handling services. So the higher the demand, it may require additional personnel or additional people to serve the people, so that they are giving customer satisfaction, and so that more people can, come again and again. And the fifth one is overbooking and seat inventory management. So this is something that also has an impact of demand on Delta Airlines. So if there is overbooking or the seats are fully booked, the airline has to deal with potential customers, and it could lead to dissatisfaction and also reaccommodating of passengers, and that is something that could impact the demand on Delta Airlines. And the sixth one is the revenue opportunities. And so Delta Airlines provides free Wi-Fi, they have flight meals and other amenities that passengers can use in the flight for their satisfaction. And so this is one of the many ways in which demand can impact the operations in Delta Airlines. And the seventh, the last one, is operational disruptions. And so if there is any disruptions or significant changes, all of a sudden Delta Airlines are responsible for keeping the customers safe. Also at the same time, they are required to accommodate in a higher passenger volume. And so it's important to note that demand is influenced by various factors, especially we're focusing on Delta Airlines products so that we know, they know, we know how and to ensure that efficient resources are utilized to produce profit in the business.
So for mine is how the economic function of government affect Delta Airlines. So in this part of the presentation, I'll focus on what government regulations are and how they impact Delta Airlines or any airlines for that matter. So government regulations and oversight play a pivotal role in ensuring the safety, security, and operational integrity of the airline industry. And that's including Delta Airlines. So for this, there are three main points that I wanted to share with today. There are many, but I wanted to begin with, I wanted to share three. So the first one is safety standards. So with Delta Airlines, they adhere to these regulations so that they can ensure that their operations and also passengers are safe when they choose to fly with Delta. Secondly, if they do fail to comply with this, there are penalties that they will face as they do this. And it's not light penalties. One would be their reputation. As we heard of earlier in the presentation, that if their reputation goes down, not many will fly with them, just because of the competition that's available in the airline industry as well. So safety is kind of paramount, or the main thing that they make sure that people feel when they fly with them. Okay, secondly, security protocol, and this has come a bit more stronger in recent years or recent times. Well, not really recent, but from 9/11, when that incident happened. I think security, especially here in the States or in America, they beefed up that, and that kind of impacts Delta as well. So how that impacts them, because of the terrorist threats, that is a big reason why it impacts Delta. And then they are also subject to these stringent processes. Like when we go into airports, we have security screening, we also have baggage checks, and then the final one is mainly the IDs on any of the passengers that fly with them. So with all this, it kind of increases their operational costs. First, on safety, they must, for example, they must send their pilots on some safety, safety courses, and also their crew members, so they know that they're able to help passengers if they are. Security protocol, it takes a lot more time, so I guess employees are working a bit longer, and it kind of adds to their costs as a company, operational costs. And the third one, can move on. The last one that I'll share on is licensing requirements, and this is for all airlines, and I guess any business you need licensing. And with aviation, because it covers safety of people moving from one country or one place to another, it's a bit more focused, and they have more licensings to get approval for operation. So there are different jurisdictions that meet specific criteria and demonstrating compliance with various regulations that must be obtained. As I explained earlier, they really need different types of licensing to operate in different parts. Say for example, if it's domestic flights, there are licensings for that. If it's international, it's the same as well. They have to get a license for that. And then this ensures that the airlines maintain a high operational standard and adhere to safety regulations. So it's kind of the checklist that the government regulations use, so that they can make sure that airlines are adhering to their regulations. Delta Airlines holds an air operator certificate, which is issued by the Federal Aviation Administration. So that's an example of one of the licensing requirements. So government regulations and oversight have a significant impact on Delta Airlines operations, ensuring safety, security, and compliance with the industry standards. So overall, economically, the history mainly to do with safety, maybe because it's in aviation, but it is impacted by this because when Delta Airlines complies with safety regulation, it increases their operational costs, and it plays a big part of that in the business. So those are the things that, or how economic functions of government affect Delta Airlines.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the Delta's elasticity of demand. So as we learned in class, elasticity of demand means that companies that are more elastic, there are more firms in the market that they can't charge more prices because people will just buy what the companies are selling at a cheaper rate instead of the companies that have a higher price. So because of the numerous firms in the market, it is causing the elasticity in the industry. So the characteristics that apply to the elasticity of demand are transportation, many routes, the loyalty program, and relationships with other firms in the industry. So Delta has very many routes to not only domestic flights, but also international, as we've talked about in this presentation before. They have many hubs and very many flights going out every single day, which is a really big characteristic of this industry because it increases their chance to be able to sell more tickets and have a higher price because they're able to diversify. So their loyalty program also helps with that. It helps give their customers more of a deal so that if they fly with Delta numerous times that they will have some sort of discount, which is very incentivizing for consumers. The relationship with other firms in the industry helps Delta have almost kind of like a friendship with other companies in the industry so that they can not collude, because that is still illegal, but more work together and be able to work as an industry instead of just solo companies. Delta can charge slightly higher prices because of these things. So Delta is able to charge a slightly higher price because their experience when you're on their planes is more luxurious than, say, a Spirit airline flight. So as we've talked about, there are many amenities to Delta Airlines flights. There's free Wi-Fi, snacks, water, whatever you want, and they cater to your needs and wants, which is something that you have to have the human capital for as well. Because of this, it has slightly differentiated characteristics, which means the consumer choice really is up to the consumer. It's not more what price is better, what quantity is better, how many tickets can I get for a lower price. People choose Delta because they want to. They want to choose Delta because they have a better experience and they have a quality over a quantity. And that's how Delta has really broken the barrier on the elasticity in their industry. They've chosen to work a little bit harder and to make that just that much better. And the negative effects of this, though, there are worker strikes, fuel prices, maintenance, and those things all contribute to the cost and output. So with worker strikes and fuel prices and maintenance, there's always that cost. So there has to be a cost to get that reward, to get a profit. So because of these things, that's what makes the industry a little bit more hard to get into. And that's why it's a little bit more elastic, because there's a higher cost to increase in the market and to become into it. So in conclusion, for Delta in general, there are many resources to run smoothly as a company. The human labor, the fuel, and infrastructure, for example, are extremely needed to be able to run this. Without human capital, without pilots and people to get everybody through security and through all the checkpoints that are needed in the airport alone, there needs to be that many people. So many people need to work, and it's hard to find people who are required. There has to be skilled people because you need the training, and that's an extra cost. And along with the fuel expenses and the mechanics, it just increases that cost just a little bit more, which is hard. But the demand for tickets, quality, and worldly problems can fluctuate the quantity demanded. Shifting the price to accommodate can cause profit, decrease, and increase. So Delta has many safety protocols to follow, the security and the government regulated standards to work around. And along with that, there are many firms in the industry that Delta must have differentiated characteristics to survive. So in conclusion, Delta has really done what they needed to do to be a company that most people should look into.